Hello everyone, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, just trying to brighten up your Monday one video at a time. So right before I get going, I do want to make a quick announcement about Bloodborne. Now, last week I gave you guys a brief opinion on the game, what I thought of it. I want to let you know that this week I'm going to be posting boss guides for each individual boss, which means the name of the boss is going to be in the title. I can't really avoid that. So, the best thing I can really say is if you're trying to avoid spoilers, just if you see the word Bloodborne, just stop reading at that point. Or read the next word and see if it's playthrough or not, because there are going to be names in the titles, and I know some people don't like that. It's actually something that stopped me from posting Dark Souls 2 boss guides back in the day, because I was like, I really don't want to spoil the bosses, but I really want to post bosses. I'm really enjoying the game still, even though I platinum trophied the game already. It's a great game, and I can't wait to post some boss guides for it. But anyway, let's get on to the Q&A. So I'm glad to see that a lot of people have transitioned over to using the forums that I've been recommending to ask questions. Most of the comments under YouTube are actually just people posting opinions on some of the questions or things like that. We do have a few questions here that I want to answer first, and then we're going to go over to the forums. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to every forum question this time. First question, what up, Younghaps? Question for week number 34. What are your goals or plans for when the expansion drops? Level new jobs to max, burn through the story. What would you suggest for your viewers? Thanks, brother. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you, good sir. So I have goals that are completely determined by the free company and the goals that I'm in. So Death and Taxes, we go for kind of world first type progression. So my very first thing needs to be finish the story, get a character to level 60, make sure I have all my cross class abilities in case there's any new ones, and make sure my character is ready for Alexander normal before it comes out 2 weeks after the launch. That's the most important thing that I have to do. Along with that includes getting, potions, foods, poison potions, things like that. For other people, you really need to make your own goals. Like, do you want to get your first job to 60 right away to be ready for Alexander normal? Do you want to sit there and enjoy the story at a normal pace? Do you want to try out one of the new jobs, at whatever level it may start at? That's really up to the individual. I just recommend trying to save up gil until then. You really don't have much a need to spend it until the expansion. So unless you're trying to level things up to level 50 and need to spend it for that, just start hoarding your gil and get ready for the expansion, because you're going to need it. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy. Question for week 34. Do you think they will remove the 2.0 to 2.5 reputations? I don't see why they would. I mean, the only thing that you could potentially complain about is that eventually the reputations window may not be optimized, but I'm sure that they could fix that. No. They're not going to get rid of the Beast Tribe reputations before that. I don't see that happening. Alright, and the last question I'm going to take from YouTube is actually a two-parter. Hey, Happy. Great watch as usual. I have two questions for you. How do you feel about making dungeon-specific minions personal drops instead of loot drops? They'd have to be even rarer if they were going to do that, because one of the things that kind of motivates me to do certain instances is the fact that I know there's a minion there's something that I can get that I'm not guaranteed to get. It's just out of reach. It's just a small little reward, just a little minion, but I prefer them being party-wide drops because it's a little bit more incentive to go and do that dungeon. Even in the future, depending on how they approach us being level 60 with a bunch of level 50 dungeons in the game, it'll be nice to go back and try and get those minions with friends or for whatever reason. And the second question is, do you think that the roulette system should be revamped, or will they keep putting older content in the high-level roulette until the list is half a mile long? I'm not a big fan of the way they've been doing the roulettes. I don't know if they're just going to add a tab at the top that says Heavensward roulettes versus Old World roulettes and just keep the expert the high level, because the only other solution is they throw all the experts and high levels into the low level, or they make a whole new roulette, or they just take the... I don't know. There's a lot of things they could do. I really don't want to see that list be as long as it is. I mean, it's like cool, all this variety. It doesn't really feel that way when you do it. It's just, there's some dungeons that you just seem to get more often than others. Total rock. Anyway, I think they should revamp it. I'm wondering if they're going to try to keep those old dungeons relevant through roulettes for things like leveling. I'm curious to see, but yeah, I think there should be some sort of revamp. Not sure if that's the right word, but some sort of change. Alright, and moving on to the Dream Network forums, for those of you who don't know, if you want a better chance at getting your question read, and also it's just way more organized and easy for me to keep track of, head over to the Dream Network forums. There's a bunch of stuff there. It's a community that I wish you all to be a part of, so head over there, use the forums, and be part of the community. So anyway, the first question, question for week 34 for Mondays with Mr. Happy. Do you think we'll ever see Cortez Central Highlands getting defrosted? As someone who hates snow in both games and real life, the 1.0 Cortez looks way more up my alley. Registering for this site is the first time I'll have to admit to a CAPTCHA being too hard to read. Listen, if that's the first time, then you're doing good, because I have trouble with CAPTCHAs all the time. I would like to see it get defrosted too. I don't like the way it looks comparatively to the old version of Cortez. But I mean, a lot of things have changed since then, specifically with it being iced over. Maybe sometime in the very distant future. I don't see it happening anytime soon. This would have to be almost like maybe a cataclysm type change. Something huge that happens that causes the entire weather in that area to completely change. I would like to see it get defrosted, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Next question. Hello, Mr. Happy. Love your vids and streams. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Anyways, do you think Square Enix can fix the Ninja Mudra lags? Because let's be honest here, everyone doesn't have the same ping that the usual best ninjas have. Also, for the people who are playing on the PS4, they can't even use what the faster battle ping. So yeah, my question is, can Square Enix fix the lags? If yes, what are the ways they can do it? So there's a whole big explanation I can go into that I don't think is appropriate here, but there's only minor things they can really do other than just extending the time that you're between mudras, which is not really a fix. It's like a way around having to deal with the lag. So really, no, there's not much they can do other than just changing internally the way that they're activated on the server side. Because they're such short cooldown abilities, you just notice latency more. And it's something that the 2.5 second global cooldown, it's something you don't see an issue with that global cooldown, other than trying to fit multiple abilities in between the global cooldown. So I don't think they can fix it. It really is just a matter of there needs to be better connections to the servers. It needs to not get routed through certain companies that happen to throttle connections and just destroy everyone's latency on the way to the North American and European servers. Actually, just the North American servers. Our servers are the worst. Hey, Mr. Happy, a couple of questions for week 34 for you. I'm currently at the Nova stage of my Thyrus, and I was wondering whether we will still have to finish all the Realm-Reborn stages of the Relic before we can start the Heavensward stages. So I've answered this a lot. You don't need to, but if you do, there will be an advantage for you. What that advantage is, we have no idea. Someone suggested on a previous episode that maybe you would just get to keep the stats for it and you would still have to do the whole step as opposed to having to maybe redo the stats from scratch. No idea, but no, it's not required. There will just be a slight advantage for you. And two, is there any more news on the EU servers? Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said US and EU servers for the previous question because there aren't EU servers yet. Meant to say US and Japanese servers. No, but I'd imagine later this year, they're going to happen eventually. Thank you for all, thank you and keep doing what you do because you do it great and help a bunch of people such as myself. And don't forget to keep on drinking OJ. I just had a glass of OJ. It's like you're watching me. Question for week number 34. I am from Matias, which has the stigma of being called a dead server. As a raider, I have trouble getting active people to join my small active free company or link shell in lieu of larger social free companies that don't progress nearly as much. I've watched tons of people leave the server due to the lack of rating, which I am basically offering. My question is, would streaming help me give the server more exposure to entice players to stay, join me for raiding, or motivate them to take the initiative? It would if you already had a decent amount of viewership, but being a brand new streamer and expecting that immediate exposure, it's a gamble. There's nothing that's guaranteed to work about that. The only thing that might draw people to it is it says Matias raiding Final Coil. People go, holy moly, people actually raid on Matias? That's like the only thing that you really have. There's a lot of other streamers. It's gonna be hard to get that attention, and you don't want to go, showing everyone like on every social media place like, hey, come watch my stream. You don't want to do that because that generates negative attitude towards your stream because you're mostly just advertising, even if you're trying to do a good thing with it. So I don't think that's really going to change it, man. It just has that stigma. I eventually expect to see Matias get merged with something else. I know server merges are like, people think it's the worst thing in the world. It's a terrible PR statement, and it is, but it's one of those servers where it's like, come on, man, just nobody's using it. Just merge it with something else so everyone can enjoy it. Next question. Question for week 34. Hi, Happy. Hello. With flying mounts being added into Heavensward, do you think we will see two-seated flying mounts obtained either in-game or maybe another reward from Recruiter Friend? Also, keep up the good videos. I like how you're being optimistic and you didn't say anything about the cash shop in there, because if anything, I would expect it to come from there. I actually kind of hope that the marriage chocobo will gain the ability to fly. I mean, that thing is huge anyway. Like, come on, give it the ability to fly. I do think we'll see two-seated flyers. I don't think we'll see them right at launch, but I'd imagine airships you'll be able to make two-seaters eventually, like the personal airship mount, not the free company ones. Yeah, we should definitely see two-seaters at some point, but we only have a couple of two-seaters outside of the expansion as is, so probably not for a while. Next question. Yo, my brother from another mother. I think that question was just worth reading just to get me to say that. Question for week 34. I'm an avid cutscene skipper. I'm a terrible reader. I read way too slow. And I never really know what's going on in the story. Your videos are my only source of lore. I want to know if there's a chance of you doing short lore videos on the class job stories. I've actually been asked that before and I've considered it. Especially now with 2.55 story kind of intermingling with some of those class job stories. So I'm not going to say definitely, and if I do them, it probably won't be till the end of April, early May. But I am looking into it and it is something I am considering. Next one, roars and salutations, Happy. I got 3 questions. Holy moly. I might have to just take 1 or 2 because I got a bunch of other questions to go through. With the amount of players coming to 14 in Heavensward with the Mac version being released and old players returning to the expansion, do you think all the data centers will be getting an upgrade, or will the EU data centers being separated from the NA data centers be all that is done? I fear with all these players coming, we'll be seeing another early access like 2.0 was for the Heavensward early access if they don't upgrade the data centers. I'm just as afraid as you are of that happening. I think everyone's waiting for like the 3102s, the 90Ks, the can't log on this, the servers are down, the servers are full, you can't get into instances to do your quests. I think everyone's afraid of that. I want to believe that the server upgrades they've made over the past however long have sort of kind of fixed the issue going in, especially with the gate of getting into Heavensward, because you do need to complete the 2.55 story all the way through to that to even get into the Heavensward areas. So I don't think even the EU data centers being separated will be enough. I think we're gonna have the issues no matter what. I don't know if it'll extend all 4 days of early access, but I feel your pain, man, and I'm just as afraid. Question number 2. I've recently gotten my first Animus weapon, Cortana and Holy Shield, so now I'm hoarding Alexandrite for the Nova step. So I was wondering what's your opinion the best way to farm Alexandrite? This is a quick, easy question. Hunts, fates. Buy them, do the maps, do your daily map, do the map that you buy with the soldiery, do, get the Alexandrite from the allied seals, and then just farm fates. There's a few really good areas for it. What is it? Middle Enosia is a really, really popular area to do it in. Go there. And since your second question was real short, I'll go for the third one as well. What do you personally think the best build for Paladin's Novus is? And also, if you know one, what would be a decent cheat build that avoids grade 4s, as I am severely poor? So the consensus is generally for all jobs, you just go full damage stats. Doesn't matter if you're a tank or, well, healer is a little bit different, but you just go full damage stats. The only pretty much different ones are like Black Mage and White Mage and Scholar, which Scholar goes for accuracy, White Mage can go for accuracy, or they just go for spell speed or piety and determination. Black Mages go for spell speed and determination. Sometimes piety, depending on if you want to get an extra fire or 2. But determination crit is like the standard for everyone else. So I would you probably want to fill the final slot with accuracy in case you need it. If you don't need that, parry's not that good of a stat. Skill speed is, I'm going to just say go with the accuracy. Unless you're like bored with accuracy and you're like way over the 558 cap for turn 13. Then go with skill speed. Ugh. Next question. What is your opinion on Summoner? To me, it doesn't feel very Summoner-ish. It feels more like a debuff job with a pet. I asked the live letter this, so I'll just paste the question here. With the new jobs, Dark Knight Machinist and Astral Illusion not having a base class, which we don't really know what that means exactly, would it be possible to separate Summoner and Scholar and make Summoner much more unique? With the way combat works in 14, it would be interesting to see Summoner use their summons as an actual part of their attacks, instead of just as a debuff machine with a pet that does mediocre damage. Whenever I envision how Summoner should work, I always picture the game Folklore from the PS3, or how Yuna worked in Dissidia. You could have an Ifrit combo that would be your main damaging combo, a Garuda combo that adds debuffs or dots. Titan could be a shield moves or damage prevention. Granted, I'm not a game designer, so I don't really know if these ideas would be any good on anything or anything other than paper, but Summoner doesn't really feel like a Summoner. So a lot of people have said that. I personally like that it's not like every other summoner in the series. I do think there are some things about jobs that should be maintained, and summoners just happens to be the fact that they summon things like Ifrit, Garuda, Titan. To me, that's the standard thing that a summoner should do. However else they want to envision the job being played, I support. It's like the only other thing I've really complained about is like Dark Knight not having HP abilities, even though they're a tank, and I get why that's, you know, kind of a risky idea. I'm perfectly okay with the summoner. I was a warlock in World of Warcraft, so it really kind of already fulfilled the style that I knew how to play. As for your ideas, they're not bad ideas. I just think that I don't see it in my head. I've never played Folklore, so I can't derive an opinion from that. Unit into City, I know how that works, though, or, you know, every single one of her attacks, but that's an action game. That's much different than having to summon, you know, a primal for an attack disappears, primal for an attack disappears. And some people have suggested, you know, the pet be the majority of the damage. So what? So you can sit there and just do, you know, tons of damage without having to do anything? Yeah, they can make the pet a little bit more interactive, but what does it do? It auto attacks and it does abilities. I mean, it's kind of an okay idea, but then imagine when you die and you have to resummon your pet, and now you have no MP for anything. Like, then the pet's abilities have to start costing MP to make up for the difference. There's a lot of design changes that would have to be. I don't think it's worth it. I think the summoner works fine the way it is now, other than the few MP issues they have, which have been sort of negated since the last buff. I don't think it's worth it to try and completely change the way the job works just because some people feel it's not summoner-ish enough. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, love your videos. Keep doing the things you do. Will do, sir. Question for week 34. What do you think about Square Enix including Disciples of War, Healers, and Disciple of Magic tanks? Oh, so you mean like a mage tank and a healing attacker. I'm assuming I don't even have to read. Yep, I saw the word Puppet Master. I was like, I probably don't even have to read the rest, but it's probably going to be some Final Fantasy 11 references. I think it's a fine idea. I think that you can do whatever you want, really, in your game. If it's what you envision, as long as you can make it balanced and make sense and work, you can do whatever you want. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. Like Disciple of War healers, most people think of Dancer from Final Fantasy 11, even though they were a debuffer and a healer kind of at the same time. They had multiple roles they could fill. And then magic tanks, you know, red mage being as tanky as they were, as you state here. It's totally possible, and I'm totally for it if they decide to do it in the future. Yeah, thumbs up from me. Next question, and this person knew how to make the font size bigger because this question is much easier to read. Greetings, Mr. Happy1227. I enjoy every bit of content you produce and take a moment to thank you and all those support you for all your hard work. Thank you, man. Thank you for using the forums. That's support in itself. Now I have a question for Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays. That's the full name now, guys. I should put that in every title. I've been a fan of single-player RPGs for a long time, especially Final Fantasy and the Soul series. Yes! I have over recent years been trying to get a foothold in the MMORPG genre, but I have struggled to do so. A Realm Reborn was my first attempt, and I'm really happy and enjoyed the content, and around the time between 2.0 and 2.15, but due to my free company that myself and an in-real-life friend set up fell short, I soon stopped playing. Since then, I have tried the more typical World of Warcraft and hated it, and Wildstar, which I loved, but a hostile environment within the guild left an unsavory taste in my mouth and vowed to never return. So eventually, after a break, I came into Final Fantasy 14 and even server transferred to a more popular server. Let me find the question because this is going to take a long time. Let's see. So the question itself is this a trend that you have witnessed with yourself, and do you know of any friendly semi-hardcore free companies over on the EU side, or should I really just be lowering my standard of belief that a free company guild should be a group of like-minded people that enjoy the game and want to share that experience with others? I mean, that's kind of what a free company is supposed to be if it's not like a social thing. It's people who just want to find groups for similar things, like endgame raiding guilds. Sometimes people make friends there and they make bonds, but a lot of people are there for business. They want to do content. They want people available to do something. So it's up to you. I don't know any free companies per se, especially not on the EU side since I'm not really there. So yeah, I guess it's just, that's a decision. See, that's the thing. I can't make this decision for you. You need to be willing to put your foot down and make the decision for yourself. Because I can make the decision for you and you could be totally miserable with it. But if you make the decision and you decide you don't like it, it's like, well, you know, at least I gave it a shot. I think this is a decision you really need to make for yourself. You need to decide what you want to do with your free company, with your guild, whatever it is you want to call it, and go forward with it. Next question. Hi, Mr. Happy. Love your guides. Thank you. What program do you use to edit your videos for YouTube? I tried a few, but they all come out like crap. I use Sony Vegas 11. I think I'm going to upgrade to Sony Vegas, the most recent Sony Vegas, whatever that is, soon, though. Yeah, that's what I use. The settings you need to do to make a video not come out looking like crap are pretty specific. There's some standard things that you can quickly YouTube and whatnot. But yeah, that's really all I do. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy. Couple of questions for week 34. Let me see how quick they are. I'm in Black Mage and I'm currently working on getting my Lilith Rod. I've been wondering what the stats I should put on my weapon. I want equal parts crit det spell speed, but people have told me to remove the crit or det and go full spell speed. Yes, do that. Trust me. If you can get 44 spell speed, do it. The other part, determination. If you can do all of determination, if you can afford it, great. If you can't, last few points, probably just throw it into critical hit rate. Yeah, yeah, that sounds like a good enough idea. As for the second part of the question, I almost forgot about. Also, I've been raiding a lot of my free company recently. We're struggling in an attempt to get through turn 9, and typically we see not 3, but 4 Heavens Falls. Ugh. It gets pretty nasty. Yeah, I can imagine. I'm a Black Mage, and the other DPS are Bard, Monk, and Ninja. Bard, Monk, Ninja, and Dragon. Okay, you're running 1 tank, 2 healers, 5 DPS. Wow. That's rough. Do you think that the other DPS swapping to, say, Summoner would help with these DPS checks? Nah, man. With 5 DPS and 20% Echo, if you can't get 2 Heavens Falls, there's a lot more wrong than just the jobs that they're playing. Because that specific setup should completely destroy Nail. You as a Black Mage pretty much have one responsibility, and that is to limit break in order to kill the Drake and deal some damage to Nail at the same time. Depending on where you do it, you can do it on either the first or the second one. Most people, if you're progressing, do it on the second one. But 5 DPS and you're getting 4 Heavens Falls, that just sounds like you guys need more time and more practice. People need to go out and practice their DPS rotations. I know you say that it only really falls off in that phase, but that's really far behind, man. They got to pull it together, really. Next question. Howdy, Mr. Happy. I have a couple of questions for you, my friend. How do you think the hunts are going to be implemented in 3.0? To clarify, how do you think they could turn the hunts into a less vitriolic experience? I always thought that having a certain number of people within a certain radius of the hunt mark allowed to fight to begin would be a good implementation. There's no way it's going to be less vitriolic unless hunts are something that are open world and everyone can participate, because pulling early is in reality not a thing. It's something that the community has set as a standard to just be generous to people. You know, oh, you know, it's here. We could pull it. We could start killing it right now. But, you know, I just got here. I'm the only one here. Let me wait for some people. That way we can take it on together. It'll be a lot easier and everyone can get credit for it. That's the nice thing to do. But there's always a couple of people straggling behind, whether that's because they don't have good internet or they don't have a good computer or they're on a PlayStation 3 without an SSD. Whatever the reason, everyone feels entitled to every hunt. That should not be the mentality. Nobody is entitled to every single hunt. If you miss one, it should just be, oh, well, I missed it. But nobody's like, oh, who pulled early? I wasn't here yet. It's like, yeah, well, somebody else wasn't here yet either, but there's no way to make it less vitriolic. Just the way the human mind works. As long as it's open world and everyone can participate, somebody out there will hate the experience, and some people will purposely ruin the experience for other people. It's just the way humans are assholes. That's what I'm trying to say. And as for the second question, what specific changes would you like to see made to Summoner 3.0, and how do you believe the changes to spell speed are going to affect Summoner? We don't know what the changes are yet, but no matter what they are, if it's going to make spell speed a better stat, it's immediately an amazing change for the Summoner. You have to remember, that would make crit an extremely high scaling stat on Summoner, because you have a passive that whenever your pet crits, you get, what is it, I think 20% more spell speed? That's pretty big. That's a pretty big DPS proc cooldown, and it would make crit a much better stat. It would also make just spell speed per point another just another good option. It completely depends on the way that it's more influential for the Summoner. But for the changes, I just expect them to get a couple more pets. They'll probably get another dot. I'm like 50-50 about that. I don't know if pets are going to get another ability, though. That would be weird with the way that the hotbars are set up. I expect another MP sort of generating ability, something to make them a little bit more consistent, though it'll probably have a fallback like pet health or pet attack damage or something like that. Those are really the only changes I expect. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy. Hey. Why did I say it like that? I have a question regarding the Final Coil now being in the duty finder. Since it's likely that I'm going to be pugging the earlier turns to get gear for my alt jobs, I realized today that I might have an issue on turn 11 and thought, since it's something you personally have dealt with, maybe you know a way around it. In turn 11, the tethers are usually dictated by color, but I realized that a colorblind player may have issues with this. Being that you are colorblind, can you give me any recommendations I can pass along to people who are also colorblind may struggle? So some people designate them as blue and red, or yeah, blue and red is a very common designator. The thing is, colorblind people can still see black and white. And they're different enough, they're literally an opposite set of colors where you can go black and white. Normally, what you'll want to do is you'll mark B and C on the sides of the boss, and you'll send black to B and white to C. And unless, of course, the tanks have it, in which case, you know, whatever, back and front. You know, tanks are in the front, everyone else in the back. It's really just black and white. Even if people try to argue, that's not black and white, that's blue and red and green, it'll help them. That's what helped me. That coloring naming helped me. It should help everyone else. Next question. Hey, Haps, love your vids and streams. Keep up the good work. Thanks, man. I have two questions. One, if I'm not mistaken, Square Enix mentioned old Final Fantasy characters coming in 3.0 and 14. They specifically said they would be in Ishgard. What are the characters you would want to see, and what are the most likely characters you'll see? You know, I've thought long and hard about this, and I don't have a good answer. I'm sorry, man. Like, there's tons of characters I would like to see. Whether or not we'll see them is debatable, but I think we should expect to see a lot of Final Fantasy IV, maybe some Final Fantasy VI characters as well. So let that roll around the noggin a little bit. And the second question, I'm currently switching between Warrior and Paladin. I've been playing Paladin since I started, which is about 6 months now, and while I enjoyed the job, it was just too basic and too bland after I started playing Ninja for a while. Do you think Paladin will get more advanced, or will I have to look towards Warrior Dark Knight to play more advanced tank? They pretty much said that the theme of Paladin is to be this, you know, it's simple to kind of get into it in terms of what you're supposed to do in combat, but you have all these defensive cooldowns, you have just so much utility in your own personal defense and the protection of others, that the theme of it is most likely going to stay, and that the new abilities will probably just exacerbate that. Maybe they'll get another combo ability, which is really all the Paladins want. They just want a reason to do anything other than 1, 2, 3, and Riot Blade occasionally for MP does not count. So I'm just hoping to see one more ability that we can do that's not Rage of Alone. Hey, Mr. Happy, would love if you helped. Two questions, but first, big fan and a new follower to your Twitch. Thanks for the support, man. I've been thinking about a server transfer. My server, Brynhildr, is alright, but I'm looking for a more populated server. Any suggestions? What transfers with you? Gilgamesh is very populated, Balmung's populated, Hyperion, I think Sargatanas is doing alright. They're not super populated, but they have a good population. Behemoth is a great server. I've heard people talk about Leviathan having a decent amount of people. There's a lot of servers. It's just those servers, like a bunch of those servers plus a bunch more. Take your pick. Behemoth is one that's really good, so that's a good recommendation. As for also, if I only have my Animus but want my relic, will I still be able to get a new high-level relic when Heavensward drops, even if I don't have the Zeta? Answer that earlier. You don't need the Zeta for 3.1. It'll just give you a small advantage. Next question. Hey, Happy. Question, plural, for next week. I know Yoshi P stated recently he didn't want to have the best weapons and armor always to come from dungeon. Why not just give us crafters more recipes for higher item level gear to compete with dungeons? They shafted the crafters the last couple of patches and probably wouldn't have had this problem if they were able to craft item. If you were able to craft item level 125 gear, this game would break. There would be no point to ever raid after completing it the first time, because everyone's best in slot gear would be crafted. I think that's wrong. I don't think you should be able to craft the best gear in the game. I don't even think it should be comparable with the best gear in the game. Unless it's a recipe gotten from within the raid itself, because that means that it was earned via raiding, it's raid quality, and just not every piece of potential, like, not like, oh, you can get a full set of crafted gear for casters, a full set of crafted gear for, you know, for tanks or for DPS. It eliminates the fun in raiding and gear progression when your crafted gear is so comparable, because the increase from 125 to 130 would be nothing. It wouldn't be worth it because you'd be able to put materia onto the crafted gear. Another solution is to make materia able to be put on dungeon gear. But they also said, your statement is true, but they also said they don't want crafted gear to be used for progression. They don't want people to have full best in slot list, full item level 110, these giant vitality builds with the accessories. They don't want that to be the way that content is taken on. They want people to have to do this gear progression to meet the checks of the dungeon. So it's conflicting information. there's a lot of ways it could go. The only way I want to see crafted gear be that powerful is if it's gotten from content that's of raid equivalent. The recipes are learned from an item or something that's gotten in a raid. And even then, just a few pieces. And they're going to be expensive as hell, but just a few pieces. So that way, you can, you know, do a little bit of both. They're both really good items. Alright, next set of questions. Yo, Mr. Happy, what's up? Several questions. One, do you think the armor sets from the second coil or even the soldier gear will be turned in for Grand Company seals before the expansion hits? I think when the expansion hits, you'll be able to trade them in. Second question, what nerfs, if any, do you expect to take place in the final coil of Bahamut since it has hit the duty finder? So when it hits the duty finder completely and you can solo queue into it, turn 10 I'm expecting wild charge and the tether to have their damage reduced. I'm expecting the ads to have their health reduced. And that's really it. There's really not too much I think will change other than that. I don't think they're going to extend how long you have for the fight. I mean, the echo is going to get added. That's going to change the fight entirely. That might, you know, because of that, they might not reduce the health of the ads. Just the increase of the echo should be adequate. They might decrease the damage that they do, though, or the amount of damage that Prey does for turn 10. Turn 11's a lot harder for me to nail down because unless just reducing all the damage it does, it's like, what are you going to do? If people screw up the tether, the only thing I could think of is instead of the 2 tethers, it's just the 1 tether on each person. And that eliminates like half the mechanics for the final phase. I just think 11's going to be a harder fight to nerf. As for 12, reduce the amount of damage that Whitefire does, reduce the amount of damage Revelation does, reduce the amount of damage the Benus have, reduce the health the Benus have. There's so many things they could do to turn 12. They can make it so that in the last phase, if you're dead, you no longer give stacks to the boss. That would be so stupid. But these are all possible. In turn 13, I actually don't think will be nerfed all too much. Turn 9 just had colorblind changes, so expect that. And the final question, what other fight ideas do you want the developers to try and execute? For instance, the Steps of Faith proceeded to throw away the concept of your standard, here's the boss in the arena, kill it, dodge its attacks, kill ads, and gave the game something new. Yeah, and also gave the Duty Finder a new nightmare. I want to see more things like that. Fights that are more gimmicky. But in order to do those fights, like those kind of fights work in World of Warcraft a lot better than they work in Final Fantasy XIV. For one main reason, there's a lot more bosses that they can throw that gimmicky shit into in World of Warcraft. They're just like, hey, bosses, cool, same thing we've been doing. Nothing new, just stuff here. Just the same stuff, just more higher numbers. There you go. It works better in that game because that's how they approach the boss development. They approach the boss development a lot more in tune, but I think they could still do a fight like Steps of Faith, not that exact fight, but more interesting and at a higher difficulty level. I think they could definitely achieve that. Next question. Hey Happy, question for week 34. Ever since my static disbanded a few weeks ago before we started Final Coil, I haven't felt motivated to keep playing even though I have lots of stuff to do like finishing my Ninja Zodiac weapon, gearing up, and leveling my other jobs. So I was wondering what besides raiding, making YouTube videos, and streaming, what keeps you motivated? Honestly, I just like it. Like, you wouldn't think that me having... I'm leveling a 3rd alt to 50. I leveled a 3rd alt to 50. I hated leveling my 2nd alt to 50. And even though this one was for a YouTube series, you'd think I would have hated it. But because it was a healer, I had quick queue times, and it didn't really bother me all too much. I just like the game. I mean, I'm the kind of person who can be like, alright, there's not much for me to do right now. I'll play it a little bit, play something else, come back when there's something more to talk about or do. That's how I approach the game. It's a lot different than the way I approached MMOs back when I played 11, where it's like, alright, need to spend 16 hours a day on this game. Like a crack addict. But a game addict, I guess, is a better word. I just like it. That's all it is. I have fun even when I'm just doing things that I've already done before, but for a different character. I've always kind of liked the leveling process in a lot of games. I'm weird. Alright, we got a couple more questions here, and then I'm going to get going. If I missed your question on the forums, I apologize. There were a lot of long questions that I had to skip over, or ones that were very similar to each other that I had to just kind of be like, alright, this one will kind of be answered with my other question. So, moving on, let's see what the next question is. Hey, Mr. Happy. Question for week 34. Going forward into Heavensward, how do you think additional jobs being added will be handled? Will new jobs be like Dark Knight, Astrologian, and Machinist without a base class? Or do you think we will see new classes as we get farther into Heavensward? First of all, I don't expect us to get another ninja, like, you know, get another job in the middle of an expansion. It's something they can do. It's something I don't see them doing for Heavensward. They could totally surprise us, throw Samurai in there like 3.4 or something like that. Who knows? But that's not an expectation we should have. I also don't think we're going to be seeing many new base classes forever at this point. Base classes are good for teaching new players, but it's a terribly convoluted system once you get past the fact that it's like, Well, what the hell is the point of this class now? Sure, it has the ability to, you know, make 2 jobs branch off a single class. Summoner and Scholar weren't really liked for that reason, so I don't see them doing that again anytime soon. I would like to see somewhat the progression system changed a little bit so weapons aren't immediately tied to the job. As much as I understand it's beneficial, it makes things a little bit confusing for some people. Granted, doesn't necessarily mean... Well, here's the thing. Now instead it can be the weapon you have, can be worn by multiple jobs, but the job crystal needs to be equipped in order to use it. There are ways they could do it without changing the system too much, and I'm interested to see if they're going to discover that instead of just constantly creating new weapons for every single job that comes out. That's the one thing I don't want to see. Ultimately, no more base classes though, I don't think. Next question. Hope it's not too late for Monday number 34 question. Happy Easter, Mr. Happy. Happy Easter to you too. And my question is about the tradition of Easter for Americans. I'm Brazilian, and here we have the tradition of presenting people we like with chocolate eggs, and it doesn't matter age. Now, an American tradition from series and movies I've seen, there is a tradition of hiding eggs for children to find, but that's for children. And to adults, is there any tradition for Easter at all for adults? You put the eggs down for the kids to find while mommy and daddy go upstairs and... Let's move on to the next question. And the final question that I'm going to answer for this week. Question for week 34. I recently left my old free company because I felt it just wasn't right for me to be part of a casual free company when I'm a semi-core raider. It made me come off as arrogant during certain topics in the free company chat, like tanking stats and progression. However, I like helping beginners and seeing them improve, which is why I joined it in the first place. I like raiding and I like helping people, but is there any way I can do both in-game without it seeming like I'm flaunting my accomplishments around? That is so tough, man. I've talked about it so many times before, not necessarily in the series. Like when you see the level 40 black mage who's spamming fire 3, or he does fire then blizzard then fire and blizzard, and you try and tell the guy, you're like, hey man, I'm not trying to be rude, but just so you know, this is the way that you should kind of start trying to learn it, because I'm being nice, but a lot of people will be assholes to you, and I just don't want to see that happen. You can approach somebody like that. You sound so sincere. You really just want to see them improve. And they'll be like, I play the game however I want. And they just give you so much trouble in return, and they call you an elitist prick and an arrogant asshole and all those things. There are people that don't take it to that extreme, and there are people who just refuse to listen to people because they think, oh, well, they beat turn 9, and so any advice they give me, they're just being elitist. It's so hard. People have to be willing to listen. You're not gonna get through to everybody. So as much as you like helping people, sometimes you just gotta look at somebody and be like, all right, they're not listening. Let's try helping somebody else. That's the best advice I could really give for you, man. But anyway, thank you everyone for the questions. Thank you again for using the forums to ask the questions. Got all the way to 3 pages. I think there's like 30-something questions on the forums right now. So remember, guys, go use the forums. I'm gonna make a post right now so you can access them for next week. Just so you guys know, I'm gonna do this announcement for the next week as well. I'm going to LA on April 14th, which means that State of the Realm is going to be delayed a day. That there may be some delay in video releases. While I get there situated, going to stay with my girlfriend for a little while. But just so you know, stream's going to continue. I'm still going to be posting up videos. It's going to be a little bit different. So just expect some slight changes, especially with Mondays with Mr. Happy. I'll have a different background behind me the Monday after April 14th. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Go ask your questions on the forums, and I will see you guys next week. Until then, take care and happy Easter.